Welcome to episode number 22 of Move by Move series, where I play rapid games and explain you my thinking process during them. Let's find our opponent for today's video. Again, 10-minute rapid, not long, not something that takes a lot of time, but we're getting very exciting games. We're playing against opponent from Belgium and he plays d4. So I want to play knight f6, kind of my main move. I played d5 when I was younger, but then I kind of switched to knight f6. I have more flexibility. At some point I might just go d5 and play like regular position, but knight f6 just gives you several options from the beginning. Let's play e6, again common move against knight f3, and now after c4 we'll go for queen's Indian defense. So there is bishop b4, and he plays e3. Actually, I'm surprised because e3 is generally not considered kind of best move. Usually people go g3, develop bishop on this diagonal, but I guess it's fine. I'll go bishop b7, and now my bishop will be constantly looking towards the king side. Bishop d3, and usually in those structures, when you get a chance to play c5, you gotta play it. So just because sometimes you play c5 and there's d5 counter resource. So in this position, I can play c5 and I'll do it. c5, and then if castle, I can just probably take in the center, or I can simply go bishop e7 for now, just keeping this kind of pressure. And now d5 is somewhere in the air, so it makes a lot of sense to play c takes d4, and after e takes d4 maybe play d5, counterattack in the center. Now I'm threatening to create isolated pawn on d4, and he actually is going for it. And now knight d5. So knight d5 now has a clear idea. He wants to go and check me on b5 or give me a check from a4. So now I think it's a great idea to actually castle in the following position. He might go for some checkmate ideas, but I think I'll just go g6, and there is no danger whatsoever. Actually, there might be, why? Because g6, I think takes. I think it's actually not bad, because I don't think he can take, at least not from what I can actually see, because then I have, let's say, takes, f take g6, bishop g6. It looks like he has something, but I play knight f6 and I pick up a bishop on g6 as well, and then just come back to h7. Eventually my bishop is just super strong, there is no attack, so I really want him to take here. I don't think he'll take a bait. I think he might go for queen h6 or queen h3, but then I can simply reroute my bishop to g7, as this bishop here is not doing a lot of things, so it makes a lot of sense to just move it here. And again, it's crucial here to see whether he is going for this sack or not. And I really want to place my knight to f4, and this bishop, unfortunately for now, it just keeps kind of pointing on this diagonal, so I gotta be extremely careful here. Yes, he goes queen h6, move that makes again a lot of sense. And now I think my move is quite obvious as well. I want to play bishop f6, and I want to place my bishop to g7, which will be a very good square for it. And then, potentially, I want to go knight d7 and maybe put some extra pressure on knight on e5. And if I manage to trade this knight of e5, then, there are constant pressure against d4 pawn, which is kinda good. So I think I equalized at this point. Knight goes to e4. That's the move I actually kind of didn't see, but I think bishop g7 should be kind of safe in a way. I'm just wondering what are the ideas here. Like he wants to go knight g5, but is it helpful at all? Let's go bishop g7. Now the queen is under attack. He probably will go to h3, and then we'll see like there are bishop g5 ideas. Maybe I can just play knight c6 at this point and put kind of extra pressure on this e5 knight. And if knight g5, I just go h6, king h7. So this move actually makes a lot of sense, unless there is like immediate blunder, which I don't see yet. I should be in a good spot. Maybe there is bishop g5 and knight f6. But again, f6 square right now is controlled by three pieces: queen, which kind of covers this, knight covers this, and bishop covers this. So I not really worried about f6 square at all at this position. Like, bishop g5, also one of the moves I want to play is to play f6, of course, kind of fork him here, but unfortunately there's queen e6, which is kind of bad because this queen is now quite active, pointing towards the c6 pawn, so it's getting very complicated. But now with knight c6 I also put a lot of pressure on d4, potentially maybe knight b4, threaten this bishop, and then if bishop goes back, there are always ideas. If I can't create anything on this diagonal, I might as well just go to a6 and create threats against this rook on f1. Let's see what he does. Knight c6, bishop c6, that's probably good for myself. And maybe he's thinking of something like bishop h6. Again, a lot of errors, pro thinks he's Hikaru, but bishop h6, I think I'm quite safe to take on d4. And then let's say if he recaptures, he goes knight g5. I don't think it is the move that I should be afraid, but there is some realistic threats to it. I'm not sure if I should, let's say, go for h6, because h6 I probably will deal with this. And then let's say rook f7. I mean, it's not like it's something that is like puts me in a lot of danger, but it's a bit annoying, I would say. And one of the things I might actually go for here is knight f6, but knight f6, yeah, I put a lot of pressure on d4 pawn, but I'm not sure if it's helpful. What if just bishop e3, then I have knight b4, knight d5 kinda reroute that way, but again, like, I don't see a lot of ideas. Even though, let's say knight f6, it makes some sense in a way that knight f6, actually, no, I'm calculating bishop e4 right now, because I'm not able to take, right? And if I put, I mean, it's not that bad, maybe h6, there is some h6. Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I want to play h6, but then, I'm kind of worried about this. This might happen anyway, so maybe I should not worry about it too much, but you're always trying to make sure there is no danger to you. So, and knight f6, there is also some knight e6 apparently, and then takes queen e6, king h8. So it's actually kind of dangerous right now. Yeah, and if h6, knight e6 as well, it looks like it. Queen e6, yeah, h6, knight e6 apparently, and this is like a serious threat. Oh man, yeah, I kind of underestimated this. And knight f6, knight e6, takes queen e6, king h8, knight e6 takes, queen d4. I mean, I can't say it's like something dangerous, but let's go knight f6, because h6 seems like just a very bad move due to knight e6. Knight e6 still will be probably followed, because I don't see other good options for white. Because if I manage to play knight b4, I think I'm a lot better. But knight e6 right now is a serious threat. And I'm thinking, what do I have? Like, I can't play all this, but bishop c6 and now knight e6. Kinda make it this way, yeah. What if I play bishop d7, knight d8, this takes rook d8 and put extra pressure here. Bishop e3, knight d5, and I might as well just take queen e6, king h8, queen c6, queen d4, attacking the bishop, potentially putting some pressure here, knight g4. Not sure, like, I'm not quite sure. If I play something like bishop g2, let's say, king g2, queen d5, this makes sense. Because let's say bishop g2, queen g2, I also might just go this way. Alright, this, knight d8. Alright, let's go bishop g2. Quite an interesting game, actually. Like, it's getting a lot of... I'm getting a lot of excitement here, because let's say king g2, now I move my queen to d5, and then take on e6, let's say, with a pawn. And this I just take with a pawn, and, kind of ruin pawn structure. We're still kind of equal, but, game might turn out either way at this point. Because let's say now I want to bring my queen to h4, pressure this pawn on d4. It's getting interesting. And also knight f4 is kind of move I really want to play, even though I have this kind of weakness, long time weakness. I hope that it actually should not be that terrible. Let's go king h8 for now. And the idea is simple. Queen e6, I want to go rook e8 and put extra pressure on e3 bishop. And my knight on d5 is still quite stable. This bishop has no activity whatsoever as of right now, but it might change, you know, in a second, just like momentarily. I want to take and maybe play e5 and then queen e7, because then, you know, he has this pawns on dark squares, so it might be actually beneficial to me. And yeah, e5 might be actually a great option for me to kind of make things right. And knight f3 takes, queen g5, e5, maybe e5 right away. This move. And now I really want to take. And next move is, of course, gotta be e5. And we kind of go towards some draw. Because let's say now takes, I go queen g5 and the take on e5. And alright, I mean, it should end in a draw, but you never know once again. And if he tries to go for something like d5, I think my queen will just block. And yeah, I'm just not a big fan of this position for white. Like, I go bishop h6 and might potentially put a lot of pressure. Rook f1 and then rook f8 takes. Again, probably white are still okay, and I'm just, you know, overreacting here over something I might not probably have, but, you know, the position is quite stable, so I probably out of some... I should not worry about different stuff here, but again, it's like, it's not bad to worry here. Queen c5 is something that attracts me a lot. Like, I want to put something like this and then takes. What if I go queen c5, bishop c6, like rook f4? Like, I want to do something crazy, but bishop c6 is something that kind of pisses me off a little bit. So what if I play... I want to play rook f4 so badly, like queen c5 and rook f4, but this, bishop c6, rook d8. Now, for now, let's play queen c5 maybe. And yeah, maybe I have a better option somehow. Rook f1, because look, he has many pawns on dark squares, so it's not the best thing when you play the position. Let's go maybe rook d8 and then queen c5. Let's see what he will do. And now I have some rook f4 idea. And then if queen f4, rook f8, I mean, I just got a lot of extra pressure. Rook c1, I just probably end up taking. Or I can maybe continue just going back for now. Rook f1, this. Like, I want to have some pressure, but I just don't have it right now. Queen d6. Yeah, I really want to go rook f4, but... Oh, I probably even had it. But, alright. We'll analyze it afterwards. For now, I feel myself quite safe, I would say. Maybe... I mean, as long as this pawn doesn't move further, and to d6, I don't think it will be able to move there. Just out of possibility at this point. Rook f6. And then I want to take and go for queen g5 maybe. And put some extra pressure. Queen g5, trying to attack, right? And then bishop, let's say h6. Yeah, the point is rook f8, bishop f8, like, I'm not sure if it's ever going to be any good for myself, because it looks like absolutely dead position to me. Queen e7. Yeah, it just looks like a draw. To me, honestly, like, I don't think I have a lot of chances. Like, I gotta play something like rook f8 and then takes, and then let's say he goes queen f3, I just go bishop d6 or bishop c5, attacking the pawn on e4. Then alright, I mean, there is a potential for attack, but I don't think it's something that is really dangerous. Yeah, just queen f3, bishop c5, can even e4 is not playable because queen g1 is a checkmate, but queen f7 is probably playable. Because now I'll have to move my queen back probably instead of taking, because queen f8 is a checkmate. So there is a potential for a loss for both sides, but again, you gotta be completely careless to lose this one. And this game is going for like last 15 minutes, which is kind of insane, but I don't think position is winning for either side. I mean, ideal result is of course a draw, but you never know how things might turn out. Bishop, I mean, the easiest setup to make a draw in this position is just to play bishop c5, and then queen e7. If I'm just, playing kind of passive, that's the easiest setup. Okay, I can put extra pressure on the c-pawn. King is kind of probably more weak. Maybe bring my king to actually, let's say, queen f3, and then I move my king to g7. That makes actually a lot of sense. But bishop e8, and I still have to think of this queen f7 idea. Maybe bishop c5 then makes sense. Queen f7, king h6, and then there are no more checks. So that makes actually a lot of sense. So let's see where he goes. I might press him on the clock as well a little bit. But queen f3, king g7, there is also queen g3, which, I mean, makes a lot of trades. So bishop c5 would make the most sense in that position, but again, gotta be extremely careful. Now I have to decide. Let's go bishop c5. Let's go for a couple of tricks. Now, of course, want to take. Maybe he'll move. Maybe he'll collapse under pressure, but of course he's not able to. Queen f7 is probably the easiest move to make. And then, yeah, I should not allow any checks on f6. Maybe king g7. Oh, and he blundered the checkmate. Let's go. That's what I didn't really expect, but it is what happened. Let's get to the analysis. What can I say? I played a perfect game. You will see a game review tab, 97.0 accuracy from myself and 90.0 from my opponent. I played one brilliant, and as you guessed, it was of course bishop g2, bishop sacrifice. But let's quickly look at the opening phase. So, as I said, many people here after b6 respond with g3, going for main Queen's Indian lines, or let's say knight c3, but I rarely have seen e3 being played in this specific opening. e3, that's anyways a good move. I mean, nothing bad is happening. Bishop d3, and now c5 once again. As I said, it's very important to play c5 in Queen's Indian structures when you're allowed to, because usually you gotta be prepared for d5 push, and in this position it's clearly impossible to do. So c5 is actually a book move, as you might see. Bishop e7, knight c3, takes, and d5, quite typical maneuver for these structures, just trying to create isolated pawn on d4 and play against it in the future. C takes d5, knight takes d5, and now knight goes to e5. And as I said, I mean, castle here is a must-have move. Castle, queen h5, and evaluation here usually says zeros. And we reached the following position, and as you might see here in the right corner, this is a position occurred in many games actually. G6 was played in many games. There is apparently knight f6, and players make a draw after queen h4, knight e4, queen h5. Now knight has to go back, knight f6, queen h4, people make a draw. But of course, we're not here to play quick draws, we're here for a win. G6. And this is the position which occurred in many games, and I want to show you a game played between two grandmasters. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Naidi Charkadi name or with Verle Yan. This is the game from 2007, and in the following position, Black responded with G6. And as my opponent played in the game, Queen h6 is actually not the main move. I have seen, so Queen h6 was played maybe in one game only, according to the chess base. But move Queen h3 has occurred a lot more. And let me show you how Naidi Charkadi won with black pieces. Knight c6, putting pressure on e5, of course putting pressure on d4, and now knight is not able to jump to e4 and set up like knight g5, knight e6 quick, which I kind of blundered during the game. It turned out fine because I had this bishop g2, but otherwise, of course, I'm down a pawn, probably have to defend it till the end of the game. Got kind of lucky, let's say. Bishop h6, attacking the rook on f8. Now knight goes to d4, sacrifice in exchange, and again it's quite typical. And I was discussing how I wanted to play knight f4 in some lines. Look at the position here for black. They're down in exchange, but this knight f4 is potentially coming, and it's very dangerous. Knight in the center, d4, d5 are very, very annoying for white. So white tried to trade one of them, queen d5. Now, of course, there's like a lot of pressure on g2, rook e1, bishop e4, attacking the rook, and now bishop e4, setting up like this pattern on queen d5, bishop b7, and rook on a8, queen takes e5, bishop b7, bishop e1, bishop a8, knight e2 check, king goes to h1, bishop takes on f2, rook f1, and here black played bishop g3, setting up this h take g3, knight g3, and then basically what knight Arkady wanted is white to take on g3, then knight g3, knight f1, and then take on b2. He just has a lot of pawns, and this bishop on a8 is kind of useless because this structure, when you put pawns on the separate, like on the same colors, the bishop, it actually restricts the activity of it. So in this case, even though black will be down a piece, they'll have more winning chances in the end. The game continues with bishop f3, bishop h2, bishop e2 takes, attacking the rook, bishop is not taken, queen f3, and after trades, knight Arkady ended up winning this game. But let's get back to my game here. Queen h6 was played, and according to computer, the best move was knight d7, putting immediate pressure on e5 knight. I played bishop f6. I was like, okay, that's a good square for the bishop. Why not use it? What I kind of missed this knight e4, and it turns out that suddenly there is like a potential for huge attack, so I should have calculated more. I didn't even consider knight e4 at first, so knight d7 makes a lot of sense. Just try to trade it off immediately, and then white have no pressure whatsoever. Bishop f6, I mean, not too bad. Bishop g7, queen hg, white have some advantage but not critical. Knight g5, bishop g5 was apparently slightly stronger. Knight g5. Now, checkmate threat, and here I started calculating h6, and h6, as it turns out, is actually a losing move due to knight f6, which I saw. I was like, alright, I definitely can't take because queen s6 and checkmate is definitely coming. I can't go king h7 because queen g6, queen h7, checkmate, king h8, knight g6, and my position is collapsing. The best move here is actually rook f7, but of course you don't want to give up your full house, so h6 doesn't even, can be played. So knight f6 makes perfect sense, putting pressure on d4, protecting pawn on h7. But again, you kind of see these ideas, and here he should have played knight e6 immediately. I'm actually not sure what he was scared of. Maybe he was calculating something else, but to me it seemed like he takes on c6, I take on d4, and yeah, the position is actually equal due to me having like this extra pressure on f2, potential pressure on queen side. So even though white took a pawn, they're not better. Even though they have two bishops on the board, doesn't really help. But he played knight c6. I was like, yeah, it has the same idea. But after knight e6, of course, I was calculating different stuff. Like I was ready to go for this. I mean, again, kind of same stuff, right? Queen e6, king h8, queen c6, queen d4. Take it and kind of, try to defend it down a pawn, even though it's completely equal. But, I mean, there is bishop g2. And now black have a little edge. Again, you ruin pawn structure. And now white have 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn islands. And, somewhere in the endgame, it might turn out quite badly, because usually if you have a war structure, it will be tough to defend all the pawns at once. While black here, I mean, of course, I have only 3, but, I mean, my pawns are, like, more stronger than those pawns white have. So, queen g2, f takes e6. Now, a lot of pressure is being put on d4 pawn, bishop e3, knight d5, queen f4, trying to attack on e6, and here played king h8. The idea is simple: queen s6, rook e8, and I end up taking on e3, and then pawn on d4 falls. The position would probably collapse immediately. Bishop c4, knight e3. So that was not the best move. Apparently, computer really likes queen d6, kinda still not trading any pieces off the board. But to me, I was like, alright, maybe I should make a draw. Nothing is happening really. So knight e3 takes opposite color bishops. I have this, opposite colored positions a lot recently, and it's, some viewers told me, yeah, you gotta learn how to play those. Yeah, I have to. Here I play e5. The idea is simple. I want him to take and I want to go queen g5 and put a lot of pressure on this kind of white pawns positioned on dark squares. d5, and I don't like d5. You kind of let me block this pawn. You let me kind of attack this e3 pawn potentially. And if, I mean, this bishop is going this way. He was probably afraid that I'm taking, but d takes f5 was probably, and d6 trying to promote it. I mean, probably would give white more chances. Queen d6 trying to block, bishop b5, rook a d8, attacking the pawn on d5, queen c5, and let's say he plays something like a3, I plan to go rook f4, that's the idea I had in mind, and if takes, I mean, I'm just having a lot of pressure on this pawn. I mean, now rook is wide open, so it might potentially go this way, queen c2 for some attacks. The position is a lot better for me, not a lot better, it's not winning, but I mean, I'm more pleasant here with black. Rook a c1, attacking the queen, of course. Queen goes back, b3 is played, rook f6, trying to trade a pair of rooks, rook f6, queen f6, rook f1, queen g5 check, king h1, rook f8. I don't really have a choice. And of course, very unfortunate blunder. King g7 was actually better, which I was calculating. And let's say this, I was calculating bishop c5 and if queen f7, king h6. There are no more checks. Queen is coming to e3 and potentially trying to checkmate this way. And yeah, it actually was slightly better than bishop c5, still not bad. d6 should have been played, and d6 is a hard move to make. Like, I don't really understand the idea. What if I just take queen f7, queen f7? Basically, white are making a draw. Let's say place pawn on e4 and just eventually hold king here, because again, first of all, of course, different square. If you kind of, you know, make a fortress on queen side, just place your bishop on d5 and just move your king back and forth, it's impossible to win. So if queens are being traded off the board, it's a draw immediately. But I got very lucky because I discussed that there is a possibility he might play e4, you know, make sure these pawns are on white squares. But, you know, bishop c5 and queen on g5 make a perfect dynamic duo. And after e4, queen g1 is checkmate. Yeah, I mean, great game. Honestly, I think it's a great analysis. For most of you might be very beneficial if you watch till the end. I hope at least it is beneficial. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next episode. Bye bye.